You're listening to the Mistress of None podcast with Erin Harkes.
Hello, hello, hello. This is the Mistress of None. Thanks for tuning in. Today, my guest is Sarah Craig of Caffe Lena. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Erin. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being had. I'm so delighted to be here. We are in the purple green room here at Caffe Lena, which is a beautiful ambient light, but we had to turn the lights on so we can get a good video. But this is one of the most comforting, wonderful places in a wonderful cafe, and I love being here with you, and thank you so much for meeting with me today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. I can't wait to find out what we're going to talk about.
That's it. We're going to wing it. Well, what's funny is that just coming in here, just the second you walk into this place, you just are overcome with the history of it and how much beautiful things have happened here in this room. What I find the funniest is every time I go to interview somebody, we always end up having these amazing discussions before I hit record. And so there's definitely some things that we've already talked about that I was like, hold on, we're going to talk about that more a little bit. But first, tell me what brought you to Caffe Lena.
Oh, sure. Let's see. So that was back in 1995, and I had just gotten married kind of out of the blue to somebody who was up here, and I was down in Boston and had to decide which place to live. Moved up here, middle of the winter, needed to find a job, wanted to work in the nonprofit sector. Just come from running a peace organization in the Boston area, and found this little line in the back of the Saratoga. We're talking paper, classified. I was sitting in a diner in Salem, New York, and it said, nonprofit arts organization seeks full or part-time executive director. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I didn't actually think that I was a good fit for the arts, because I had come from this kind of grassroots lobbying, peace and justice background. I'd done a lot of work on gay rights, women's rights, some environmental stuff. And so
you're a Republican.
Yes, I'm a Republican.
Sorry.
Yep, many generations. And so I thought that the arts were, if you have time once the world has been saved. I think that that's kind of how I thought about it at that time. And so when I found out it was Caffe Lena, and I knew about Caffe Lena, I knew about its reputation. I happened to be really into the 60s folk revival music at that point. So I was like, oh, no, that's getting kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I came over and I had the interview, and we just had this incredible conversation about Dylan and Pete Seeger and the ways that music had led the civil rights movement and mine strikes and, all this kind of stuff. And I would say that I was a little bit at sea and probably in over my head for the first couple of years, but then I really started to understand the power of what happens here and the role of the arts in creating a healthy community, a healthy world. And now I think that the arts are the best tool that we have for actually creating space for people to understand each other in this world and to understand themselves. I think that if you really listen to songs, you start to know yourself, not just what the singer's singing about.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What a interesting past. That I'm so glad that it brought you to the arts. And that is, I think, a notion that it's when the rest of the world has been saved. I think that's a notion that a lot of people have, especially when you look at school funding.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, as a musician, almost lifelong musician or even aspiring musician, I remember being like, I was in a music class that they almost took away because only 3 of us signed up for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, but what I got from that class, I like to think I've given back a little bit. So it was worthwhile to keep that class, if not just for me, know? But that could be the most narcissistic thing that I've ever said. But it's so true, though. I mean, because like here I'm having to take science and math, and I know that some of those things are very important, but like there weren't ever as many opportunities for me to explore music. And you should be given those opportunities when you're young. Be like, here, try this. Try throwing this ball. And if you are good at it and you really like it, then we'll let you throw the ball 4 times a day. Mm-hmm. And they don't do that with music, unfortunately. So I'm glad that you...
Yeah. And so actually the most recent chapter in this kind of journey of epiphany for me is that I came out of the pandemic understanding a lot more about the social service nonprofits and the grassroots kind of activist nonprofits in town, because we became this place, like the only place where you could come and kind of stand in front of a camera and give your message to the world, or have a valuable conversation, or hold a fundraiser and stuff, because we got to be declared temporarily a broadcast studio during the pandemic, so that we were an essential business and we were able to use the space under very restrictive conditions, but still.
Was that your idea, though?
It was lots of little bits of ideas coming together into a fantastic idea.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It really worked. I think that the first person who thought of it was Michael Eck. Oh. So Michael,
we love Mike.
So we were going into the full shutdown. It was the eve of the full shutdown. The next day we were supposed to have a children's show. And he said, well, here's what you do. And he said it as a joke. He said, just have the performers come in and stand on stage and play to an empty room, but stream it. But we were like, ha, ha, ha. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Actually, that's exactly what we'll do. So that's what we did. But what happened was we had this parade of different nonprofit organizations come through, be their most powerful selves on that mic, talk about their mission. And I began to fully understand that everybody who's running these nonprofits, whatever it is trying to save the world or make the community healthier in some way. And so then I began to see that we're just all on the same team, and that we all have something to contribute to a better world, and that we need to pool our resources. And so I've been thinking about lots of different ways to keep that going since the pandemic. We have this program called True Songs. We have this conversation series called Serving Saratoga. We have all this different stuff that we do to try and capture the true story of the community, which you hear in folk songs all the time, but try and take it so it's not just like an old miner's ballad from Kentucky, but you're looking at what's actually happening in the world today, tying together the music and the real true stories of the community. I really like Caffe, Lena, having that role. I think that comes very authentically out of what folk music is.
I can't think of a better place for it. And
It's
that's just because I'm sitting in here right now. Like, it seems like a symbiotic relationship.
I think that, the one thing that the arts do is they keep you constantly looking at things through a fresh lens, right? That song sparks your mind. That painting just does something to you. And so just being around the arts all the time, it's like constantly not just understanding myself better, but understanding what Caffe Lena is better. It's like it's taken me 30 years to get to know it, but and I'm sure I'm not done.
Are we going to do something extraordinary next year for your 30-year anniversary?
I don't think so.
I think we need to.
We're doing it right now. We're celebrating with this podcast.
We'll talk about this later. I like throwing parties. So, but no, I mean, I think the beauty of a space like this, and especially the space, but also just listening rooms in general, as many people that are listening know, and as you know, we had a nice little heart-to-heart last summer after my first show here, and it was very emotional. But it was because I realized, and I think the pandemic was part of that. I knew that I had an interesting effect on people, but I didn't know how much until and to keep things like this alive during the pandemic. And for me doing my online shows, I had people going like, I was at my wit's end and I knew that I could tune in, like saying really sweet things to me that I didn't even consider. And so that felt really good to hear. But then coming back out of it, I was already getting tired of the bar shows and the covers and just being ignored essentially. And then the pandemic happened, and then it was, okay, we have to rebuild and I have to make some money. And so I took everything that I possibly could. And then the past year I was like, I hate this with 1,000 passions. And I played with, I did a listening room out in Syracuse with our friends, Cersei. And I was just like, I need to be doing this. This is what I need to be doing. Anytime I got the opportunity to play for people that were just there to hear music, I was like, this is what I need to be doing. And so it's just so important to support places like this that give us opportunities, us musicians, opportunities to do exactly what we were meant to do. I mean, it's fine to pay the bills playing, like Adele covers in a bar. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's something so special about having people really listen and connect with them. And like, people always ask, they're like, do you ever like tell jokes between songs? I'm like, no, because nobody's listening. But like here, I was like telling full stories and jokes, and people were laughing, and like it's just such a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
And to see artists here, like I got to see Richard Thompson, not last summer, the summer before.
Summer before,
yeah. And I mean, I'm obsessed, and I was so close to him, and I controlled myself. But just hearing him talk about these songs and everybody, like, there's just a buzz, like an energy in the room, like your hair is standing at attention, and it's just. I wish more people would come experience something like that.
The staff here talks about this. We get to see that transformation happen every night. We see the audience come in a certain mood with a certain energy, and then when we see them leaving, it's like this lightness. This lightness and this energy that's flowing into them, and a feeling of gratitude and a feeling that. Maybe people aren't so bad after all, maybe there's hope, maybe there's whatever. And it's just an incredible sort of restoration of their humanity that I see happening all the time. And I see it happening for the musicians too. And it's so gosh darn simple. All you have to do is have a little room with people coming in with an authentic wish to listen to each other. Mm-hmm. It's that freaking simple. It's hard to believe that it's that rare and precious.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. I was like, you're right. Yeah. Like it's frustrating how simple it is.
Like we could live our lives like that all the time.
Yeah. You hear this, everybody? It's such a beautiful thing, honestly. Like, I know that I feel like sometimes it always seems like I'm gushing whenever I'm interviewing people, but I only interview people that I'm impressed with and in places that I am impressed with. And like, this is one of those places. And I remember I interviewed Reese a couple of months ago because he was doing the first show that I had. We'll get, of course I'm going to plug my own because it's here. But Lena Go Round. And like he said, I have it on tape. I almost started to cry. I was like, I finally got to play my first show here. And he goes, yeah, that was way overdue. And I was like, like, but I didn't. And I said to him, I didn't want to come here with a show until I knew that I could do it and I could pack the place and I could do it right.
You sure did.
Thank you. Yeah. I waited until I knew, and I was like, I'm ready now. It's time now. Yeah. Like, we tried it again. We tried it right before the pandemic. And then it was like, I think I saw you at UPH for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, sure.
And we were like, we're going to talk. We're going to talk. And it was like, no, we're not. Like, but yeah, that was just one of the best nights of my life, honestly, was playing here.
Awesome.
And so one of the events that I get to do here, thanks to you, thank you so much, is Lena Go Round, which is a monthly thing of local singer-songwriters. I may pull a few out of local. I think I got some people that I want to bring through that might just add so much to it too. But there's so much great talent locally, and I'm really getting excited with the people that I'm getting to meet. And it's just songs in the round, and I'm going to be bringing new stuff. It's forcing my hand to write more stuff, which is great. And just sitting in the presence of these other great songwriters and just the energy in the room has been exceptional. But what's awesome is yesterday I was waiting to hear back from Roseanne Ranieri, and she wanted to do the February one, and she goes, can I do April or March? And I'm like, you can do whatever you want. Like I say to people, I'm like, you're a get for me. You're a huge get for me. And then like, as soon as I got her message, I was like, okay. And I'm like, And then I get a message from Belle Skinner.
Yeah.
And she goes, are you the one that I talked to? I'm like, you're on. Like, next one. I was like, how is that? That's awesome. Like, I'm not encouraging everybody to start messaging me like that. But it was just, it's great, the caliber of artists that are reaching out that want to be a part of it. And that's more about, yeah.
And I want to say something about that. When you came forward with this idea, it was exactly something that it needed somebody like you to do it. I can't quite do it because that's not the music scene that I am an expert in. I'm not an expert in the local music scene because Caffe Lena has generally been this kind of, pass through for nationally touring acts. And that's the scene that I'm kind of a little bit more dialed into. And yet there are so many people who play in the Capital Region who have come up through our open mic, a listening room open mic, that's been really, formative for them. And when we do a benefit show, who do we call on? We call on local musicians.
Yep.
There are a handful of people who have structured their careers so that they can carve out a little time and space to play a show at Lena's, Michael Jerling, Jim Gaudet, but, there are a whole bunch of local people who have done that. But I always have this feeling like there's got to be more space for the local music scene to be able to have their time on that stage, because I know that a lot of people in the local music scene care about, the artists who have passed through here. They care about the legacy. They see Caffe Lena as being one of the assets of the Capital Region, and I want them to have time on stage. And so by doing Lena Go Round, you are creating space for that, and that makes me feel really good to kind of reclaim some of those roots and ties.
Well, that's amazing. Like I said, I didn't have the idea. I mean, I knew that this has been done, but I saw that there was an opportunity for it in Saratoga, and I thought about Caffe Lena, and then I thought, there's no way. No offense. I just know it's very prestigious. And so I thought about a few other places, and I was like, all right, we're just going to see. And you wrote back, and I was like, oh my God. I'm getting goosebumps right now. What an honor to be able to do it here. And, your staff also is just, you have the best staff.
Aren't they great?
Every single person.
They're all in it for the right reasons.
They really are.
Really
and
are passionate about the music. Yeah. And they understand the value of just, kind of rolling out the red carpet for everybody and treating everybody like a friend and a neighbor, whether they're in the seats or on stage or volunteering. That's definitely the ethos we try to carry on. That's what Lena did.
Yeah.
And, we try to keep that going.
Yeah. I mean, I came in to see Cersei the other night, and it was packed. I couldn't even stand outside. And so I was like, I saw Matt Griffin. Yep. And I was like, can I just go? He's like, yeah, go ahead. And I walked down the hall with this one of the volunteers I said, could I just get a cup of tea or something, a chamomile or something? And she was like, what table are you at? And Matt's like, that's Erin Harkes. She does her Lena Go. And oh, okay, go in the green room. I'll bring her right into you. I was like, oh, excuse me. But they weren't she was like, what table? I was like, oh no, I'm going to, just trying not to be here, but also would really love a cup of tea kind of thing. But yeah, they were great. Bringing it back in. And then they started checking on me. I'm like, I'm fine. Go. I'm just waiting for them to call me up. It's all good. But I mean, everybody's just been so sweet and very welcoming.
Great.
You really do feel like you're part of the family once you start to work here. So
yeah.
What are if you could change anything about how things work in the musical industry? Oh, I know this is a loaded question. What's one of your biggest pet peeves as a venue manager?
What are my biggest pet peeves? I think that, this probably doesn't really have that much to do with the music industry, but it has to do with just the way life is for everybody now. And that is too much, too fast. Mm-hmm. I struggle with that. And one of the things that I think really kind of hurts me about having to just move through my decision making about music and stuff really fast is it can begin to commodify things. If you get to the point where you can just make decisions, boom, 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 like that, this works, that doesn't work, yeah, blah, blah, that feels like a sacrilege. And so I'm constantly needing to just sort of elbow other things out of the way, the fundraising, the marketing, the staff management, the building itself, the whatever, and try to create space for booking shows that where I can be my best self, and bring an attitude of total respect to everything that I deal with. So I would say it's kind of, which is a way of saying, oh my God, does my inbox get flooded with requests? And I want to take every single one seriously. Like we were talking before we got on mic about how hard it is to say no to people.
Yeah.
And I sometimes get the impression from musicians that they might think I relish saying no, that it's like a little bit of a power trip, and it's not. You should see me. I'm like, I'm a wreck about it lots of times. And it would seem ridiculous given how long I've been doing this, but like every single request that comes in, I'm like, I wonder if I can make this dream come true for this person. That's like sort of my headspace. Like, oh boy, they really want to play here, but they got no credentials whatsoever. And honestly, the music is not up to snuff. They would not have a good experience. It's not the right stage for them at this point in their career. And so you got to say no. And I always keep my no's as simple and content free as possible, because I think that a lot of musicians just, the thing you hear all the time is no is the next best answer. It's like they throw out so many requests and they hear back from so few people that just the very fact of saying, I'm sorry, but this won't work at this time, good luck with the tour, is like, good, we can check that box and move on.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people want. I try not to get into a lot of like, wow, every single song is in exactly the same key, and there's just not a lot here.
Well, I mean, it's not really your job to give that kind of feedback,
No.
but I mean, musicians are notoriously needy, and sometimes like no isn't, people don't comprehend sometimes, but it is hard to say. And I'm glad that you had the chance to say that, because I do think that a lot of people think that anybody in a position of power or anybody with any, stout at all is like, and it's like, it's not like that. Like,
No.
I've been overwhelmed with, and I do comedy and music.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have both of those types of people messaging me nonstop going like, I want to be, somebody got my phone number somehow, this woman, and I felt bad, but I was like, I said hello, and she launched into her speech, and I said, who gave you my number? And she goes, oh, this probably another comedian. I go, no, I need to know like who's giving my phone number out, because this is not how you contact me. For like, my phone is like my safe space. Like, I don't get any notifications in my phone. So I tell people like, email me. That's it. Just email me. I keep it all in one place. I have somebody that'll message me on Facebook. I go, send an email to this, and then I never hear from them again. And I'm like, okay, like, you could be like Bon Jovi, and I'm like, oh, if you're not going to learn to read and follow the rules, like, that's one more thing I can check off my list. But no, it's not easy to tell people like I'm not interested,
Right?
Because no matter how I put it, no matter how I gloss it up, if I'm not firm and say no, it's not going to work, then you're going to keep trying. So if I say, oh, I wish I could, blah, 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 you're going to keep trying. If I say, no, it's not good enough, then I'm a bitch.
Right. Yeah. Then, yeah, exactly. And, or you don't know what you're talking about.
Oh,
That's
I
the
wish
other
somebody
thing.
would come at me with that.
Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm every bit as good as all those other people who play there. I just need a chance. I will play for free. Like, no, you won't. Musicians get paid. You'll never play for free
But
on
not
the
only
stage.
that, like, it can't be free because we have to turn the lights on and we have to drive ourselves here. This whole staff. I mean, we have volunteers, but there's also paid staff.
Sure.
And there's rent.
It's very
And there's
expensive.
Joe. Joe's not going to work for free. Joe's a funny guy. But it's, yeah, people don't, and they do, again, they do the same things with comedy. They're like, oh, I don't even need to get paid. And I'm like, thanks, but
Yeah.
also, unfortunately, part of the business, which is like, this is the hardest discussion I have with people, and we mentioned this before we started recording, was you ask people like, you have to be able to sell tickets. I'm sorry, you could be the most talented person I've ever met in my life, but if you can't sell even 5 tickets, I can't use you. If there's something that I'm doing that I know is going to sell out, then sure, maybe I'll throw you a bone. But ever since I made this whole career shift in the past year, everything I do is a ticketed event now. And if you can't help me make that a success, then I can't I can't use you.
Right. Then you're just, you're ballast.
And
yeah.
Maybe I'm the first one to tell you that, or maybe I'm the only one to tell you that, but that is the truth. And that is something that your whole job depends on ears and eyes. Like, you have to get better at this, figure it out, market it. Like, that's part of the game now.
Yeah. And I will tell you that is a monumental job. It's huge. It's hard. I will never, ever tell you that, like, oh, anybody can do that. No. Sometimes people will come to me right out of open mic, and maybe they're writing some pretty good songs. They're like, so how do I get started? I'm like, I should know the answer. There should be a good answer to that, but I barely know. Like, I kind of know, but it's, some of it is luck. Some of it is a song that resonates with a moment in time, and it just makes, people's eyes pop. And, some of it is just, you have that, wonderful way with the audience where they just kind of can't take their eyes off you. Sometimes it goes beyond those songs. The songs are essential, but there's this whole other thing that you might have or not have.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I've told people in the past few years that I've become more of a businesswoman than an artist in the past few years, out of necessity, just to make sure that I'm constantly in work. But, like, you could have the it factor, but if you don't know how to market yourself and how to properly promote, then it's just not.
Yeah.
Like, then you have to really count on some luck.
We had a neat thing that we did right before the pandemic that was a series of artist development workshops, and we assembled different panels of people to come in, and I think we picked like maybe 20 local musicians to be part of it that we all thought were very promising and with a little bit of professional guidance might benefit from this opportunity. Reese was there, Carolyn was there, bunch of people who are really in the scene now. And so it was like, we brought in real booking agents from big time booking agencies, and marketing people and entertainment lawyers and all kinds of stuff like that. And we just created these cool educational workshops, ran for like maybe 3 months or so. And it didn't cost the musicians anything. And that was a really cool learning experience, because like, I get to go out to these conferences. We get to go out to these conferences and learn from peers and learn from the industry some of this kind of stuff that you're talking about, like how the music business actually works. Some people don't even know those conferences exist, or they would be beyond their budget to be able to go. And so we were trying to create like our own little mini crash course version of that here. And I think we're going to get another series going pretty soon, sometime before the end of the year. We're going to pull together another one. Yeah, Reese was nudging me to get that going again.
That would be very beneficial to a lot of people. I think, just understanding how, like, I just talked about this on my last podcast. I was like, I know some really great people. They don't even have a website. And I'm like, come on. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm at like, like the gynecologist, and I'm like, here, I have a show tonight. Like, you can't ever stop. You have to tell everybody. I know, sorry for the visual, but it was like,
oh, that's right. You're a comedian.
Yeah. Too. I forget sometimes, but that's how intense I can be. I'll be like, it comes up in conversation. Let people know what you do. They're going to be interested. And 1 out of 10 people that you talk to that day might actually come to the show. And then they'll bring their friends. And then, you like if they put the effort into that as they do into messaging people that have said no to them.
Right.
I mean, it's a tough business, and it's hard, but
artists are amazing to people, actually. Like, there's a real mystique about artists. And if you are a person who can stand on stage with your guitar and your own songs and make art in front of people, and you personally invite somebody to be part of that, they're going to be completely honored. Never be shy about telling people what you do.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And, you're going to get a lot of people like, oh, my God, we'd love to. And you're like, you might never see them again. But if you do, then you've done something right. And that's what you have to do.
And it's giving something to them.
It really is.
It's the same mentality as like that I had to get over when it comes to fundraising to sustain this place. It's like, I'm giving people the opportunity to help me create this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to, like, present your value
Mm-hmm.
and believe in it. And I mean, when I first started doing comedy, I was told almost right away that I would only make money if I produced my own shows. And I was like, well, then I'm going to produce my own shows. And that's what I started to do. And the first few that I did, I would say to these comics, I was like, can you help sell tickets? Can you bring people? And they were like, oh, no. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to bring people out to buy tickets. They're like, well, that's easy for you. You have that whole crowd from when you played music. And I'm like, do you think that I woke up one day with that audience?
Oh, music is easy.
I built that. Like, I used to write things on paper and like tuck them in like windshields. Like, I've done it all. I papered Lark Street, like literally papered Lark Street for a show that I had at Valentine's one time. Like, I mean, I've done it old school. I did it before fucking Facebook. Like, I know how to do these things, and they could be done a myriad of ways. Yeah. You don't, off the beaten path, figure it out, but you got to hustle. If you don't have an audience, then your art is just for you, which could be a beautiful thing if that's what you want. But something tells me that's not what you want.
Right.
Like, learn from it. Just watch what I do, and I'm still struggling. I still have like hundreds of tickets a month to sell, and you
never feel like you're done.
No.
No.
Well, I was saying to my husband yesterday, I go, I have to remind myself that 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to sell like 100 tickets to something. And now if I don't sell out a room, I feel like I failed. And I was like, that's ridiculous.
Bar.
Exactly. And I just keep climbing it. Oh, wow. Well, I am so excited. What is your favorite, besides mine, the favorite show that you've ever seen or had here at Caffe Lena?
It's all, I mean, we talk about this sometimes, and the best answer that any one of our staff ever came up with was the last one I saw. I'm like, yes,
I'll
exactly.
take it. Yeah, I like that though. That's nice.
We've just had this incredible richness of sort of expansion in what we have to offer here, particularly since the pandemic. It's been a slow build, but it kind of like, accelerated after the pandemic because a lot of booking agencies fell apart, shut down. Some of the biggest ones in the business shut down. And so the agents reconfigured and, rejiggered themselves into different clusters and opened new agencies. And it was in the middle of the whole George Floyd thing. And so there was an eye toward diversity that hadn't existed before. And so some of those people that maybe they've been kind of watching for a while thought, heck, let's take a chance. And so it used to be that there were very few people of color who were at a level of their career and had the kind of industry support that I could put on this stage. And now I have many choices. And what's also growing is bands from around the world, really wonderful roots music from Africa, from the Caribbean, from Northern Europe, from just like all over the world. So that's been really exciting too. So I love the diversity of what's happening, and every show has just been kind of stunningly fabulous, I have to say.
That's awesome.
It is.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep it going then. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erin.
This has been wonderful. See, I told you we'd have enough to talk about, right?
Yeah. Thanks for doing this conversation series. I think, there are definitely some good lessons and takeaways in every one of the conversations you've had. I appreciate it.
I hope so. Thank you for saying so. I appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you. So this has been Sarah Craig here at the historic Caffe Lena. Her next favorite show that's coming up is January 31st. I've been saying September all week. I don't know. Yeah.
We'll talk about that when we
turn
off the mics.
January 31st, we've got Kim Buckley, Buggy Jive, and Zan Strumfeld from Zan and the Winterfolk, and it's going to be such a great show. And of course, me. And thank you again, Sarah, so much for coming out. Anything coming up here that you want to give a shout out to?
Let's just leave it at your show and keep all attention and all focus on that, because I think that's great. I will throw in one other.
All right. I didn't tell her to say that, by the way, but go ahead.
I want to say it's January 26th. So it's the Sunday right before your show. I think that would be the 26th. It's a Sunday afternoon show.
This won't air before then, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. That's okay. We'll skip
Who is it though?
Well, we're doing a benefit for March for Our Lives, which is the gun control organization started by students from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bunch of local artists doing that show, and it's at 3:00 in the afternoon. And
that's tomorrow.
Then it's not the 26th because it's the 28th.
What day of the week is it?
Sunday.
Sunday the 28th. Yeah, this will come out on the 31st, but I will happily share that with as many people as I can.
But that whole, I mean, you're kicking off what's a really great weekend. We have our Bright series on that Friday, which is where we bring in people who've never played in the area before. And we have a young woman named Joy Clark coming with her trio up from New Orleans, and just really positive singer-songwriter. We have a young man named Alexi Campaign coming the Thursday between those two shows. He's a singer-songwriter from Canada who trained in Paris, who does a lot of looping, and he plays violin and other instruments, and he gets this incredible cascade of sounds going. His mom was this very famous folk singer named Connie Caldor. I mean, it just goes on and on. Just like pick up the schedule, close your eyes, poke your finger into the month, and just come do it.
And people can become members. Yes they can. They become members to support the mission of the organization and all the community outreach that we do, and the music lessons and all of that kind of stuff. And they can find out about that at caffelena.org. Caffelena.org. Yeah, we're a nonprofit organization, so this is I always say about nonprofits that they're doing the work that businesses don't really want to touch because there's no money to be made in it, but our community values what this work is, and that's why they come out and support it. So be one of those people. That would be one of those people. You heard it here. Thank you again so much, Sarah Craig, Caffe Lena. I am Erin Harkes. This has been Mistress of None, and we will be right back.
You're listening to the Mistress of None podcast with Erin Harkes.